started off with just me literally having the runs, and
Yeah.
I thought I'd eaten something. And by
Yeah.
day four, I genuinely thought I was going to die.
Right.
There's no other way. I couldn't get out of the bed. I'll tell you how bad it was. I don't know if you want to
Yeah.
include this, but I'd actually walked down my stairs, right, and
Yeah.
I'd got the bloody ground sheet from the back of my Titan hide and had it on my bed because I was going that often. I was petrified. That's the stage I was at.
I
I
might keep this
genuinely,
bit in, mate.
yeah. If you want to keep it in, you keep it in. But that's the
Yeah. No.
stage it was at. It was I couldn't stand straight. It was like my inner ear was just so off balance every time I
God.
leaned forward. I couldn't move properly. I've never had nothing like it. Even when you've been,
Yeah.
punched as a kid or whatever, and your head's gone for
Yeah.
it, it was zero like that. And I just sat there, and it
Yeah.
was my other half was like, you've got to sort yourself out. Stop trying to act the big man.
Yeah.
You're not fine. And then
Yeah.
111, and within literally, oh God, I'd say half an hour, I'd had a call back from one nurse up in Leeds who put
Yeah.
me on to another nurse up in Leeds. And then the original
Yeah.
nurse phoned back and they were like, we need to come out and see you. Is there any way you can pack a bag just
Right.
in case you need to go in? And
Yeah.
I panicked. That was it. I started thinking, where's the will? What's happening with the house?
Yeah.
My family's hundreds of miles away. It just went on and on and on, and my head was in overdrive. And to be honest, I just sat there and cried. So
Hmm.
I didn't know what to do. And after 4 days of,
Yeah.
I'm quite a portly set guy, should we say? And after 4 days
Yeah.
of kind of not eating and not drinking and everything
Yeah.
else, it was a case of I just don't know what's happening. And when
Hmm.
somebody says to you, you might have coronavirus, 8 out of 10 of your symptoms are coming back. To
Yeah.
to me, like you're going in hospital, you you're not coming out.
Yeah. Was that what it was then, Lee?
Yeah, they
Or
come
not?
round, done checks. Do you know what? To be honest, when they walked in looking like the back end of something out of Mars, I was straight away panicking. The guy was like, "Don't worry, don't panic. This is just all precautionary." And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die." You generally don't know what's going on, and I would say I was
Yeah.
delirious at best. I had a temperature of 39.7 when they
Fucking
checked.
hell.
They done finger pricks. They done swabs in between my groin, my toes, my
Yeah.
back of my
Yeah.
ears, the back of my throat. And
Yeah.
within about 20 minutes, he was like, "Look, I'm awful sorry to tell you, but one of them's come back that you've got mild symptoms." Oh, and that was it.
Yeah.
I generally sat there and thought, "I'm dead. I'm going to die. If I go in there, I'm going to die."
Yeah.
And yeah, panic stations set in from that point forward. But from the NHS, efficiency wise, from them getting
Yeah.
me to where I'm not going to go into hospitals and stuff, so in case I mention people's names, I shouldn't or whatever. But you know,
Yeah.
I'll give you one bit of advice. And years ago, I took out private healthcare,
Yeah.
and it's paid for itself in dividends now. And there
Yeah.
will be no way, shape, or form. That covers me from getting cancer to being
Yeah.
sick to
Yeah.
having accidents when I'm away on a mad fishing trip in the middle of India. If
Yeah.
anything goes wrong, that 30 quid a month has now paid itself. And I've always
Yeah.
thought it
No,
was
definitely,
expensive.
mate.
Always thought it was
Yeah.
expensive, but now
Yeah.
it's it's.
So how did it end up then, Lee? Did you end up in hospital in
Yeah,
private?
yeah, they took me in. They got me under control, gave me some nice injections in my bum called Maxilon that calmed me down, stopped me being sick, and got my fluids under control. And he
Yeah.
actually said the way that I was thinking in my head was every time I went to the toilet, I was drinking fluid, but there was more coming out of me than what there was going in.
Yeah.
So he said to act delirious as I was probably due to obviously that being the way the amount was coming out of me and not going in. Um, so I was in hospital for 4 days, and I genuinely, on my life, because I'm from a healthcare background, I've done 10
Hmm.
years in the NHS,
Yeah.
in the Isle of Man. And then when I moved here, I'll be totally honest here, the tax brackets are very different, as many a
Hmm.
businessman might know. And
Yeah.
I couldn't afford to sustain the lifestyle of doing nursing, just couldn't afford it. So fair play to everyone that's kind of stood there and stuck by this because, to be honest, I don't know if I'd still have done what they're doing now.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
a big ask what the NHS are getting done at the minute, and it was only a few months ago. I won't go into politics, but people were applauding the fact that the wages were
I
frozen.
know.
And if you can tell me
Yeah,
that they aren't walking gods now, um,
yeah,
you know,
and
they've
especially
earned
because
every penny and more.
you've seen it on literally on the front line
Yeah.
firsthand. I tell you what, mate, Brexit feels like a long way away, doesn't it? In the past, it's like,
I
what's
tell you what, I
Brexit?
think I don't even know what that is anymore. I might change it to breakfast because
God,
it was only a few months ago people were complaining about what's going to happen, and
yeah,
it does beg to differ. Have we had shortage of PPE and everything because of the way we've exited? You're not going to know. People are paid a lot more than you and I ever will be to make decisions that are
mm,
some people think in haste and everything else. But what I can say is, even though, without sounding ostentatious, I was in a different ward and everything else, and
yeah,
there's still people out there, no matter what you have. You've got the same thing as a rich person or a poor person,
yeah,
and
yeah. It's a
I
leveler.
was
Yeah,
treated with the utmost respect. And at 38 years old, I didn't really expect to have a nurse that probably 10 years younger than me coming in and dressing wounds on my bum because it was breaking down. So for people to show decorum in that kind of
yeah,
industry and not be bored of having to come in and deal with these people, I think that if they ain't due a wage rise, I would happily put my tax up to cover it.
yeah.
Happily.
No, well said, mate. Yeah, that's real nice. Let's do the intro.
Yeah,
I'll
go.
keep all that in. For those people that don't know, you're Lee McSween. Lee, give us a bit of an intro into you, mate.
Go. Why am I? Let me think. So I'm 38, originally from the Isle of Man. 38 in August, and count me years away there. And
Hmm.
3 years ago, for a joke, I decided to start out an Instagram page. One of my friends turned professional, and I told him, "Don't do it. It will be the end of everything." And he started getting a load of followers, and I said, "Do you know what?" I said, "I bet you any money in 6 months I could beat you." And it started as an ongoing joke as how we were the average anglers and he was the professional one, and for some
Yeah,
reason it just seemed to stick. Can't put it any other way. Work as a area sales manager for a communication company now, doing everything from Isle of Wight Festival to Aintree. We do all sorts to cover it. So I'll give them a little
yeah,
free plug, SFL Mobile Radio. Have a little look if they're about. But apart from that, yeah, that's me. Quite a mundane life, but the nicety of it is it allows me to go fishing a couple of days a week because I only go
yeah.
into London Monday and Friday.
Nice.
So
Let's talk a bit about your fishing then, mate.
yeah,
Where
go
have you
on.
been? Got any memorable capture stories
Oh
you can
God.
share?
Well, obviously being from the Isle of Man, there is zero coarse fishing there. Like zero. You don't have a perch, you don't have a
Yeah,
pike, you don't have a carp. There's nothing. There's no sticklebacks. You have trout or
yeah,
sea fishing. So, we were all 12 years old with rowing boats out in the bay catching mackerel and selling them to the local fishmongers. And that's the way we grew up, with air rifles in the mountain. And, it's a very rural place back then.
yeah,
Um, Not much has changed, I'm not going to lie. It's still quite the same. There was controversy a couple of weeks ago because they got a JD Sports. So you can picture the way it is. One McDonald's for 82,000 people. And the cinema screens stay on for about 6 months at a time. So it's a very backward place, and I moved over to the UK 10 years ago now, and obviously I grew up watching VHS and Betamax and all the rest of the things. There was no DVD then about
hmm,
your local kind of heroes, and you had a passion for angling. I used to watch Jack Charlton on there on his old river fishing, and ultimately John Wilson was always the one that stuck out. And fortunately enough, about 5 years ago now, I started going fishing quite heavily in Thailand and become very friendly with the chap that runs Exotic Fish in Thailand. And when I
well,
first started going there, it was a hole in the floor. It didn't have palm trees around it. It didn't have anything. But it was the only place in the world that was offering an arapaima guarantee if you fish for a week. And after
hmm,
3 times to Thailand and not catching one, it's what drew me there. And
yeah,
now he's not just only one of my sponsors, he's actually one of my best friends. I consider him like family, Mike. And Mike was very good friends with John. And I actually sat at a table in the middle of Chennai Airport meeting John Wilson for the first time in my life, ready to go marlin fishing for a week. And I was like, oh my God, I've met Fernando Torres, I've met Luis Suarez, I've met all these footballers who are on all these things, but there's that man that caught that perch under that tree on that video when I was 6. And you couldn't take it in. And I was like, John, look at the flies I've got for trying to catch barracuda. And John, look at this. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm coming across as such a wallop.
Fanboy.
So, yeah, properly. I mean, it was probably only one of the times in my life that I've generally been shocked by someone. But I sat next to John on the plane and kind of like looked at him like, you'd look at someone like, oh my God, I can't believe it's that guy. And he sat there and he told me all about his trips out in Lake Nasser and Nile perch and all sorts of stuff. And one thing he said to me was it had always eluded him was to actually physically land a marlin. He'd never done it. So
Right.
we flew out to Port Blair, and I've got some quite interesting pictures of John, bless him. And, he was exactly like he kind of was on the video, giggling, laughing, and telling you all these stories and doing his little poses and stuff. And it was just like, there's John Wilson. Like, even now, like, I've met John a handful of times past that, and I was quite good to call him as a mate, I mean, I would speak to him a couple of times a week, and went up to his place in Chumpon and fished it. And, him and his wife, Jo, and they were all golden. I can't complain otherwise. And people say, don't meet your idol. But if I had one that I'd met, it was him. And I kind of had to sit there and, endure 2 days sailing when we got into Port Blair onto a place called Narcon Dam Island, which is an active volcano. And we were fishing actually off this volcano. We were watching it erupt at night and everything. It was incredible. And, you go past all the archipelagos, which had like the Jawara tribe. And I don't remember if you remember last year, but you had that American fellow that sailed out onto one of them. And I think the cannibals got him, didn't they?
No, right, yeah, I did hear
but that was that was actually on the island next. We sailed past that, didn't see anyone or anything. But, within a day of sailing, John actually hooked into his first marlin. And he had it on for 4 hours. And, the guy's in his 70s at this point, and you think it's one of India's hottest summers. It was up in its high 40s. He's there having bucket of waters, fucking water thrown at him. And all he's worried about in the middle of all this is the camera angle. And I'm thinking, God, John, just concentrate on that fish. I'm thinking all these years, and, it's come down to this one pivotal point, and you're worried about your red cap and the camera angle. So ultimately, a bit of time pursued on, and John got his fish, and we touched the leader, we got it alongside, we got all the pictures and everything, and I filmed this on my phone, on my iPhone. I'm thinking, I've literally just caught something that no DVD, VHS, or anything that's ever come. I've just caught that on my phone. John Wilson, the guy I've watched since I was a kid, landing his first ever marlin. And it was pretty big. It was about £300. It was. By the end of the trip, we had 4 or 5 each, and it's a shame really, because we were going to put it all together. Because a couple of times after that, we went fishing for arapaima as well for the fly. So I tied John some flies up, and we went out, and he had a couple on the fly as well. So we had his biggest fish on the fly, and so I did get to see a lot of John. I spent a lot of time with him, like on a personal level, and it's a shame really when you get a call from the other side of the world, and it's literally a Facebook message saying that he's gone. And when people get older, you always do expect it. Like, you expect your nan, your granddad, and you expect people to do that, but you don't really think of the great John Wilson, that even at his age he was still out trying to pull in £1,000 fish. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So I was quite privileged with that. So yeah, that's probably my best story, is being able to see an angler, legend, pulling something he's been eluded all his life.
Treasured memories, mate, indeed.
So
yeah, real. Yeah, it's a shame, and anything like that, it just sort of, it's gut wrenching, isn't it, when you hear it?
Yeah, it does take it out. Yeah, it massively does. And I sit there and I think that the modern day angler looks at people like Alan Blair, and you've got river monsters. These are the people that are coming through now, and I think that's great, because they're the next kind of people that will come along. You look at Ali Hamidi, and you see him at a show, and he's always got time for you. Doesn't matter if last time I was there, I was speaking to him about football. And he's like, oh, such a nice change talking about football. But you think to yourself how many times someone's gone up and looked at this guy who ultimately at one point was just a nothing. so that people pay attention and stuff. I think it's a really nice thing, and that's why I appreciate everybody that does follow me on my page. And I
Yeah.
do reply to every comment, no matter some of them. People think, oh no, that sounds really stupid. There is no stupid question. Everybody learns. I learn all
No,
the
not at
time,
all. Yeah.
and that's the
Yeah.
way I do. If you find someone that I haven't replied to on any of my pages, I think you'd be shocked. And every message that comes through, I do put the time and effort in, because ultimately, these are the future of the, what's coming up. These are the anglers. The kids are
Yeah.
where they are, and people are getting into the sport, and people call them noddies, and they call them this, and they call them that. They're the wrong type of people that I don't need in around me. The people that are willing
Yeah.
to learn, and people that are willing to push people forward, and be that person where there is no stupid question. I think
Of course. Yeah.
is
We
definitely
we
the
all
way moving
start
forward.
somewhere, don't we?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's. I mean, we were all in that person's shoes at some point. And I think it's
I'm
we're
still
all
in
big
them now.
enough to remember it. Yeah.
I'm still in them now in half the things. I've only been carp fishing for the past 6 years.
Yeah.
So, when people go on about, oh, do you make your own rigs and do you do this? The amount of times I sit there on YouTube trying to follow something, and I think it's important. YouTube's a massive learning tool,
Yeah.
a
Oh yeah.
massive learning tool. The amount of, information you can gauge off that is incredible. And, it's taught me a lot. And this is why I was saying to you, when you look at, like I was saying before, when we were just messaging, you look at people that have made something from nothing. I think is a
Mm.
fantastic thing. It's like when you
Yeah.
had Urban Carp on. I mean, the guy, he's the most emphatic person I've ever met. Like,
Mm.
you speak to him, he's 1,000 mile an hour. You look at Craig from Rigworks. The guy's gone out and created something from nothing. Yourself, your podcast from something. It
Yeah.
just shows you that if you get the right little niche and you get the things in there, people will follow you, and people will listen to you, and people always ask, how have you built a following, and how have you done this, and how have you done that, and I just say I don't know. And that's the truth. I've got no idea. I post a lot of stuff.
Well,
I reply to a lot of people.
replying to people's comments is one good thing. It just shows that
Mm,
you care, and it's investment in your time as well. You're taking time out of your day to just build relationships.
yeah, correct.
I think.
And
Yeah.
I think it's important as well. I mean, I go fishing with quite a lot of people off there as well. Someone will
Mm.
turn around and say, "Do you want to come up here, or do you want to try for this?" Or, "I know
Yeah.
where that is." I love it. I think it's great, and people turn up and they're like, "Oh, mate, I can't wait to go fishing with you." I'm
Yeah.
like, "I don't know what you're expecting, bud. I was relying on you." But,
Yeah.
it's nice that you've got this whole community at your fingertip. That's not
Yeah.
just carp fishing. It's not. That's one thing I wanted to get across on my page is I know a
Mm.
little bit about everything. I love my fly fishing. I predominantly, that is my love. My biggest fish is 350 pound on a fly, estimated, and it was always like I want to do well on the fly. I want to catch a nice
Yeah.
big trout. I've gone carp fishing on the fly, and that has been my love. So
Yeah. No,
it's nice
nice,
that
mate.
there's such an eclectic mix of people on my page. I enjoy that.
Yeah. You said as well about sort of meeting people. I've got quite a few sort of trips loosely planned just from speaking with people during the lockdown. Getting out and spending time with them on a bank, and whether it's fishing or doing a bit of filming with them, should be good. Exciting times.
Yeah, definitely. I think the lockdown, I was saying to you the other day, it's got a lot of pros as well as cons to it. I mean,
Yeah.
we were discussing obviously, when you look at the amount of people now that really are eager to go out fishing, it's going to cause an influx into the local tackle shops, which I think is going to be fantastic for all the owners. Which I'd rather
Hmm.
have an abundance queuing outside the door than people thinking, "Oh God, I've got to get by this month." People are going to start finding the love again for the sport that I think
Yeah.
we a lot of us, including myself, took for granted. I'll go fishing on Saturday is now I can't wait to get out tomorrow, and I've just ordered 6 Colemans. It's like you're ready, everybody's ready to rock and roll, and I don't know think the fish are going to know what's hit them when when everybody gets out, but
I know it's
you
going to
know
be. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because it's been such a long time since we've had a close season. Because that's pretty much what this
yeah.
is. What are your views on that? Do you think I've been asking a few people? Do you think we should bring close season back?
Obviously, for me, I've never had it in the Isle of Man, and then when I came
Right.
here, I thought it was always a strange concept. But after seeing it, I mean, I go to a little spot which I found at the back of my syndicate up in Biggleswade, and I've
Hmm.
watched things like I mean, it's the other week I seen a snake. I've never seen a snake in England. I was in awe of this thing going across
Yeah.
the water, and I've seen otters and I've seen fish that I've never seen in places that I never knew they were. So I think it has been a very good thing as well as maybe an essential
Yeah.
thing. I mean, you look across the whole world, like Venice. I mean, they've got dolphins going through Venice.
Yeah.
It just
Have you
shows you.
seen that clip that someone's put together of like it's got some like animals reclaiming the world, and they just appear in like in towns and cities and things where it's quiet.
Yeah,
All sorts of random animals just roaming around the towns.
yeah, it's mad. You see cougars out in America and all sorts of
Yeah.
mountain lions, and and
Yeah.
I think that it does show the heavy footprint that humans have on on kind of nature as such, and it is nice seeing the no kind of lid of a sweet corn tin on the floor, and kind of
Yeah.
casters on the deck and things like that, and no boilies on the floor, and I
Yeah.
just think that it might have shook everybody enough to show, like I say, what we take for granted, and
Yeah.
I think this comeback is going to show people a lot of PBs. They've learned a lot of stuff why it's been done. It's going to
Yeah.
have probably fathers and mothers are going to bring their children fishing more. They're going to get out and kind of experience nature instead of just going fishing.
Right. Yeah.
So
No, I agree,
that's
mate.
my view.
Definitely. It's I've said it multiple times, but it's that element of sort of gratitude, isn't it? All the things we say that we've taken for granted in the past that were suddenly taken away. How thankful and more grateful we're going to be when we can go out and do them and appreciate them again.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, future planning trips is also a new thing now. I mean, there's a lot kind of coming up over the next year, and I presume everybody's the same. So I think camaraderie's come back into it as well, instead of just
Yeah.
being that kind of, solitude chap sitting on the corner where people go, if you caught anything, you don't even want to turn your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're now going, I tell you what we'll do. We'll get a barbecue. We'll do this. We fit three of us in that swim there, and we'll all have a good old
Yeah.
natter. So I think solidarity is going to definitely come back in the
Yeah.
fishing
Definitely,
world as
mate.
well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Definitely. You've got something in the pipeline that. Do you want to tell us a bit about that? What you've got coming up? What you've been working hard on?
cool. Well, for about the past about 20 24 weeks now, I thought I'd bring a little range out that started from just a black tracksuit, and now it's even down to dogwear. Every time I think something's great, I give it a week and then I change my mind. I've been a full philosopher of, measure twice and cut once, and in these
Yeah.
circumstances, it's been measured about 15 times and cut once. But yeah, we have got an e-shop that's coming out. I've had new logos rebranded. I've got chopping boards coming, key rings. There's all sorts. There's newborn all the way up to your nan and granddad. So it should hit every market, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of not corner myself and just do the traditional carpy clothes, but kind of just make something that people will use.
Yeah.
Um, and ultimately, I hope it goes well. It is something new from the stuff that I've sent out to people. It has been tested very rigorously. I actually sent them out to a couple of guys I know out in Norway, and they
Right.
actually they're crazy. They don't even have phones. They actually go into the village once a week to use the internet. That's how backward they are. So I've sent a lot of stuff out to them to try to just to see how to make sure it doesn't bobble, to make sure things are. And I thought, oh, I can't go for these transfers on the top. I need to go for stitching, and I've just tried to
Yeah.
make everything go well. And
Yeah.
it's just nice that everybody kind of asks, and finally I've caved in. So yeah, in the next probably 2 weeks there'll be a nice little e-shop up on there. So yeah, I'll plug that away. So nice one for
Yeah. Cool. That's
that.
right,
But
mate.
yeah, hopefully it goes good.
How long did you say until it's going to be live?
Probably about the next 2 weeks. I'm just getting the
Yeah.
last bits now. I'll tell you what it is. There was a clock that came. I've gone and got an average angler's clock, and I wasn't happy with it.
Right.
I had an anti-glare put on it, and the glare wasn't anti enough for me, so it's come back to be redone. So once the clock's back, it will all be done and sorted. So time is a virtue in many a case
Yeah.
in this. But yeah, there's some nice, very very new, fresh clothing coming with very nice logos on it. And I've tried to stay away from what everybody else has had as well, because they're all doing their own thing. And like I was saying,
Yeah.
there's a good few what I would say social media influencers out there now that are doing their own thing, and I think we
Yeah.
should all be proud of it. And I don't want to copy anyone, and they don't copy anyone. And the
No, it
majority of the
looks
time, we
good.
all get on good. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
keep it going that way.
Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff you sent it over to me, and it does look impressive. It looks well made from the pictures you've shown me. It just looks a bit, I
Yeah.
like it.
Well, one thing I
Um,
wanted to pride myself
uh,
on was obviously not buying in bulk and having it sitting in my spare room.
yeah,
I wanted everything to come straight from manufacturer or design team, and
yeah,
ultimately, I thought that was the best option, just to keep things fresh and keep it moving. So, yeah, that was
yeah,
my only B in bonnet, was to keep it out of my house before she kills
yeah.
me as well. So,
No, nice, mate.
real
It's
happy woman, mate.
I'd imagine it's been as well, like you mentioned about like being things not being quite right, and you send them back and getting them sorted, like that clock. That must be quite frustrating. I'd imagine at times.
It it is, when you think the little things can sometimes be the biggest thing that matter.
Yeah,
There was one that I noticed, that one of the tracksuits I got, that I kept saying to my other half, I was like, I'm sure them black bottoms are a different black. And she was like, you're being
mm.
stupid, because I wear glasses. So I'm taking for literally weeks, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this. Even when I'm fishing, I'm looking at my bottoms and going, I'm sure they're not the same colour. I'm sure they're not. And in the end, it turned out they were actually a different colour. And then obviously,
Right.
because I had to be right, I was like, see, I told you so, I told you. But it is the simple things like that. You've got to keep your eye on. Because if that goes to a customer, the whole kind of, it doesn't bode well for me. I want everything to be right, and I want everything to be how I'd have it.
Yeah,
But it's very hard to perceive yourself through someone else's eyes as well, because you can't cater
yeah,
for yourself and think that red hat looks great. You need to think how many other people will make it look great too. So,
yeah.
so yeah, like I say, it's gone out for a wide audience, from pets to newborns to all sorts of stuff. So
Brilliant, mate.
let's have a let's
Exciting
have a
times
see and
ahead.
see. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
How are you
So,
getting on with the new camera?
do you know what? Right, I was adamant I was getting all this sorted, and I was on these things, and I was like, "What's this macro thing?" I thought it was a type of pasta at the start. So I was kind of like looking at it, and I got a Rode mic, which was kind of advised by several people, and
Yeah,
I took the choice of what the majority said. I kind of asked the audience on this one, and I
yeah,
kind of got all my LED kind of lights and all the stuff, just to get it right, because the new
yeah,
lake that I'm going on, I managed to become quite friendly with um with quite a well known chap, and he managed to get me on Darren's Big Lake, and there
right,
was quite a waiting list on that at the time. So I went down there and had a look, and I know there's places with UK 50s and stuff, but it's just beautiful. I mean, the carp championships are on it, and it's 40
yeah,
minutes from my door, and it's got some very influential people on there that I think I can learn from as well,
right,
which ultimately is something that I really want to get into.
hmm,
This year, I set my goal to get myself a UK 100. I wanted to get a cat or a sturgeon in a lake that I know, and
right,
it's still feasible. If we're back by the summer, then obviously we can try and get it. I mean, Crow Green's a fantastic fishery, and there's a private lake that I know that has the sturgeon in there. So hopefully one of
yeah,
them comes out, and we shall see. But carp fishing's my love this year. It's
yeah.
I wanted to try and get 30/30s. That was my plan, and that's gone drastically downhill. But
It certainly made it
we'll see
harder.
how it ends up. Oh, definitely so.
Yeah,
But the lake itself, like I say, down in the Big Lake, if anyone has a little look on Instagram at it, it's got some absolute brutes, and I'll be excited to get on there hopefully next month if things go well.
yeah, nice, mate. Yeah, it's going to be almost like a kid at Christmas type scenario, isn't it? When we all get out, we've got to try and remember how to do everything. That's the thing. The more I get, obviously, the more sort of proficient you get at doing stuff, and everything is in its place, isn't it? And you get into a rhythm. So it's going to be like starting again, trying to remember how to do things, where you put things.
I I think as long as you don't end up in the tree on your first cast, which predominantly might happen unless you go on bait boat, I
Yeah,
think we've all still got it in us. But I think starting fresh, I think it's great. I'm changing a negative into a positive with all this, and I'm thinking, this is exactly what the whole industry, from the person who makes leg clips all the way up to the person who makes the rods, it's good for everyone. It's gonna have an influx at the end of it, and fingers crossed, next week, when Boris has his little chat, he does manage to lift things, and
yeah,
even if half get on a lake, that's half that doesn't need to be sneaking around, because I still see you all on your Facebook stories and stuff sneaking about and
yeah,
stuff
yeah, yeah,
because you're naughty.
yeah,
But it'd be nice to be able to just get back out and wave to someone from 6 meters away and be like, "Look at me, I haven't ended up on a tree." So yeah, I think it'll be good for all, especially mental
yeah,
health as
definitely,
well.
mate.
I think
I,
it's
I
massively
think I'm going to
needed from
be
everyone.
flat out with work with how it's going to go typically, but still,
I,
that's
I,
just the
I
way it
think
is, isn't it?
majority will be as well. Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah,
hoping we all do anyway. I'm hoping because I've worked. God, I mean, for years I've worked in central London. I used to get up at 4:30 and get home about 9 o'clock every night. And it's only the past year
yeah,
where I've had a job. I work from home for a couple of days. It's been different, but to not have work, I think, has affected people a lot more than what they like to know as well, because you kind of breaking your stride, and you kind of panicking a bit to go. I mean, I was sitting there the other day. I still go through my emails and stuff and everything and make
mm,
sure everything's ticking along. But yeah, I'm a bit worried about going back, because it's the whole new scenario again, isn't it? There's going to be an influx of everything,
yeah,
but I think getting back soon is better for everybody, from the industry to the world to everything, just to get
yeah,
back, get earning some pennies in our pockets.
yeah, definitely, just to get the economy going again. Okay, mate. What I'll do now, if I give you a question from our last guest,
Yeah.
and that's what's your biggest sort of non-fishing hack? So something that you take to the lake that isn't really fishing related that comes in really handy.
I've got two things. I bought a
Come on.
power pack, which I think is the
Yeah,
best thing ever, because it's got an AC adapter, and I can bring my laptop with me, so it allows me to do work. Although fishing's peaceful, it still allows me to sky for 72 hours a week. So I'd say that's my
yeah,
biggest life hack down there. Yeah,
yeah. I do the same, mate. I take my laptop and everything and have to work at night when it's dark.
it's got to be.
Yeah, it's got to be done. If that's the only way I can get out, then I'm going to do it. So, and if you've got a question, we can ask our next guest, Lee.
Ooh, yeah. If you could go fishing with anyone, doesn't have to be famous, couldn't be alive, could be dead, who would it
Yeah,
be? And if you had one question for them, what would it be?
cool. Thank you, mate. I like that one. And one last thing I think I forgot to ask our last guest. Can you, I'll message him. Can you draw a carp in 60 seconds and just video it and take a picture and send it over to me
Yeah, should I write
on
age
WhatsApp?
3 on it?
Yeah, that's it. And do the three backwards
Yeah,
as well.
I
Or
will
three
do,
and a
buddy.
half. My Family and Other Animals by Lee, aged 3.5.
I will do, that's it. And mental age
Awesome.
down in 2.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Brilliant.
One.
Thank you very
All right,
much,
buddy.
Lee,
Stay
for
safe and
coming
take
on.
care. Catch
Yeah,
you
really
soon.
appreciate it. Take care, mate.
All the best, buddy.